Hey, this is Steve Tarter, another edition of Tartar Sauce, and with me for the third time,
number 3. It's a charm.
Marty Wombacher. There we go. I feel like a spotlight should hit you. Well, it will be hitting you Sunday,
right?
Because Marty, well, those that don't know, and that means they haven't been tuning in to us.
Yeah.
But that's all right because there's always new people. Marty has a great blog. Meanwhile, back in Peoria. And you do all kinds of visiting around, roaming around the city and just bothering people and taking pictures. And somehow people like this. I don't understand it. But now you're going to do the Marty Monologues. I'll let you explain it. What brought you to this Apollo Theater on Sunday at 7?
What brought me to it is actually one friend of mine, Claire. For years, she's been saying, you've got all these stories. You should, have a one-man monologue show.
She's heard them all probably, right?
Oh, like 10 times, like everybody else I know. But I do have a collection of stories, and it's something I've always kind of wanted to do. And truthfully, it scares me to do it, and I like to do things that terrify me. Way back to when you were part of it, and I have something here we'll go on talk about later, but way back when I did my People of Peoria magazine, that was really scary to do because I really hadn't written anything. And what was funny about that is kind of like with this too, I really didn't know what I was doing with the magazine, but I thought, well, just move ahead and do it. There's the poster.
And this Chelsea Tams, we should
Chelsea
mention.
Tams did the design, the logo of lettering.
Do you want to read this?
Yeah, the catchphrase or the subhead for the Marty Monologues is, it's kind of like the Vagina Monologues, but with a real dick.
There we go. There you go.
And Chelsea Tams did a great job. I know you've written about her. Really has been a plus to our city, I think.
Oh, great art, the lettering and all that. I mean, bringing back hand lettering.
Yeah, I love it.
I mean, I don't know that she's bringing it back, but she does it as an art form.
Well, she actually told me that somebody once said they were asking what kind of font that was.
Oh.
She said, no, it's my hand lettering.
It's the Marty font. All right, anyway. But you were saying about your stories.
Yeah, like when I did my magazine, I really didn't know what I was doing, but I thought, well, you know what, just kind of act like you do and plow forward and see what happens. And the same, well, now through the years I did magazines, then I got kind of tired of doing that because it kind of became something that I was no longer afraid to do. And so it wasn't as exciting. Then I started doing blogs when I was still in New York. That was exciting because actually my first one was a complete failure. So you learn. If you do fail at something, you take a look back and say, why didn't that work? And so then I did some other blogs that were successful in New York and led me back here to Peoria, where I'm doing the Meanwhile back in Peoria. Well, I've been doing that 6 years now, and it's still a lot of fun.
And we should mention before we forget, the Meanwhile back in Peoria, well, this is the beauty of the internet, I guess. So
yeah.
the fact, but just saying Meanwhile back in Peoria, the fact is you focus on Peoria bistros and all of that. That doesn't mean that the only people tuning in or checking it out are from Peoria or just in the area. You've got one. You want to give them a little heads up? The
receptionist at the Journal-Star here, she
Christy.
She said, oh, my daughter is like your biggest fan. She lives in Kansas City. Her name is Angela Volkman. So, Angela, I appreciate you reading it. She says she reads it every single day. And I do. I get emails from people. I got one from a guy in San Diego the other day. He just happened to see the one on Dan Fogelberg that I did, the oral history of the coachman. And he sent me a nice email. And no, I get emails from all over the country, which is really, really nice of people to do. But again, getting back to the blog, is I've gotten to the point where it's still fun to do, but I have gotten it down to kind of a science to where it's not scary at all for me to do Meanwhile back in Peoria. And I told people, too, it's like, just say if tomorrow Angela and everybody just stopped tuning in, I really wouldn't have any regrets. I just feel like, well, maybe it's lived its life. I'm really grateful to everybody who's read it through the years, and I'm really happy that it's been successful as far as people reading it. But I kind of feel like I have it down, and I'm grateful for people reading it. But I kind of wanted something in my life to really scare me again.
So you decided on a show.
Yeah.
Get up there at the Apollo Theater, which, of course, I'm very familiar with.
Sure, used to do the movies.
150 seats,
yeah.
Very intimate. The balcony, it's the old balcony of the Apollo Theater that closed in 1958, and you're going to reopen it. It'll probably be closed again after you go on.
What's funny is I was born in 1958.
Is that right?
Yeah.
Well, you can throw that in. This theater used to be here. But you're going to have stories, songs, and sandwiches. How does the sandwich part come in? Because that's interesting.
Well, that's kind of inspired by Andy Kaufman in a way.
Okay.
He did a show at Radio City Music Hall I don't know if it's before Taxi or after it, but he was somewhat known at the time. Not really well known, but he put on a Christmas show at Radio City Music Hall. Had a lot of people in there, big crowd, of course, and it was a big production. I think you can find it on YouTube. But he didn't, I don't think he even told Radio City he was going to do this. He rented, I think there was a hotel nearby in Manhattan that he rented like a big room where you'd have a conference. And he had cake and ice cream in there. So at the end of the show, he said, okay, I'm going to go out down the aisle here. I want everybody to follow me. We're all going for ice cream and cake after the show. And they filmed it, and he was eating and talking to all the people that were in the audience.
Oh, great.
So I've always liked that. I thought that was just a cool thing to do. Well, with this, it's going to be a monologue show. Some people have thought, well, what are you doing, stand-up? And it's not stand-up comedy. I couldn't do that. It's going to be an introduction of what I'm doing and how it's going to go. Then there's going to be 3 stories that I'm going to tell. Each story, I was actually on the Greg Batten show. He's like, you know, I've been around you enough to where, what is this going to be, like 6 hours? Because you never shut up. That's why Steve likes having me on the podcast, because he doesn't have to say much.
I just sit here and listen.
There's going to be 3 stories that I tell, but in between the stories, I thought if it's just all me talking, that would get to be a bit too much. So we're going to have a DJ. It's Jonathan Wright from Peoria Magazine.
Sure.
He's a DJ. He's also in a band called Lark's Tongue, but he's also a DJ. He goes by the name of DJ Juan Goblin. I don't know why that is. I don't really want to know. He's going to be DJing it, playing songs when people come in, and then I'm going to tell the start of it, and then the introduction. Then there's going to be like a minute or 2 minutes of music. While the music is going, I'm going to tell people that they can take photos then, because I don't want them taking photos when I'm doing the stories. While the music's going, I'm going to make 3 different sandwiches. I'm good at making sandwiches. And then the audience members, there's numbers at the bottom of the ticket, and then I'm going to, when the music's done, when I'm ready to tell the first story, then I'm going to tell the number, and a lucky audience member then can come up on stage, get their sandwich, say hi to the crowd. They can have their little moment in the spotlight. It'll be fun because I figured that way there's going to be audience interaction and a little break in between the stories for both me and the audience. So that's kind of the way the show is going to be structured. And I'm hoping it'll be right about an hour and a half.
What happens if you slice your finger off while you're making the sandwich?
It'll be
part of the entertainment? It'll
be a tribute to, what was that chef that on Saturday Night Live? She was the first TV, Julia Child. You ever see that skit, the Dan Aykroyd?
Oh, yeah, the blood's flowing. Yeah.
It'll be a tribute to that.
I'll faint if you keep going with that. So anyway, well, that's this Sunday at 7. And how do people get tickets?
They can get tickets at, there's 4 places that are sponsoring, that are selling tickets. Relics Gift Shop, Acme Comics. I know we've had Bob Gordon on here.
Yep.
Acme Comics, Lit on Fire Used Books.
On Main Street.
Main Street. And at the place where we're having the after-show party, Kenny's West Side Pub. All 4 of those places. And if there are tickets left, which I think there will be, we will sell them the night of the show.
Okay. Very good. Well, that's great.
And I wanted to, after the show, there is an after party at Kenny's West Side Pub with free chicken wings. He's given us the back room, so if you have a ticket, it's going to be a private party. We're also going to give away prizes from the sponsors. That's why the tickets all have numbers on them. So there's going to be a prize giveaway, free chicken wings, a party for everybody. So that way, if like my stories totally
fall
suck,
flat,
at least there's a party.
At least I got a sandwich out of the deal, or a chicken wing or something. Well, see, that's you, Marty, always thinking of
the other guy.
The other guy, and you probably didn't like those stories, but you know what? I have 3 more that I can tell you later.
Right, at the party.
But now let's talk a little bit about your blog. Meanwhile, back in Peoria, you've had great success with that since you've been back 5-6 years. How many?
In December, it's hard to believe. It will be 6 years of doing the blog. I moved back on October 18th, 2012.
Okay, so
coming on 6 years.
6 years of doing the blog and coming up to it. And that's been, people know that blog because I know I've been with you in places, and they respond very well, especially restaurants. You know all the elements. I think because you go in there so openly, take pictures, engage the people, whether they're the wait staff or the owner or people minding their own business, and you could lurch up to them and demand.
Yeah, I go up to strangers.
He goes up to strangers. But what have been some of your favorite places?
It's hard to pick a favorite place. I mean, one of them is Kenny's West Side Pub.
Sure.
And that was a funny thing.
Was that with their old location or the new location?
And when Sean was back in his old location, this is how things kind of spontaneously happen in a town like Peoria. Sean sent me, I can't remember, Sean Kenny, the owner, I can't remember if I think he sent me an email, and he's friends with one of my best friend's sons. So he said, hey, I'm friends with Michael Hennessy, and I just opened it. He just opened it on Farmington Road. I didn't even know it was there.
Right.
He said, boy, I'd love it if you could come down and maybe do a blog on my place. So I went down and did something. He did get a lot of business after that. So we've maintained, and his food is really great. Another place I love is Agatushi's.
Oh, yeah. Well, that's been around for a long time.
Oh, forever. They're the oldest pizzeria in Peoria. And one thing I found out, I'm doing a chicken tour now. I'm doing 13 months of chicken.
Oh,
every week I go
13 months of chicken.
Yeah.
I had not heard that.
Yeah, I just finished the 13th week. And the place I started it at, which a lot of people don't know, is Agatushi's, because, Agatushi's sold fried chicken before pizza.
I didn't know that.
Most people don't.
No.
I've told people that. No.
Well, they've had pizza a long time.
They have, but they had fried chicken before that. They were like a grocery store in the beginning. Tony told me this, and he said, I forget, somebody said, you ought to be, you have sandwiches or something, food like to go. And so they thought fried chicken would be a good thing. So they still serve. Have you ever had the fried chicken there?
I haven't.
It's really good. It's kind of an undiscovered gem there, and it's the old family recipe that they've had for ages. I'm
going to restate my question to you, because this allows you to just give me your immediate top-of-the-mind answer. Best tuna fish sandwich in Peoria that you've had?
I've never had a tuna fish sandwich.
There we go.
I don't like tuna fish.
Okay, well, that's a good answer. How about barbecue? You don't have to give me the very best, but a
place that comes to mind right now off the top of my head is, because it's right almost across the street, is the Grandpa John's.
Okay.
Because they're still...
And where's that?
Will and Olds Drive, in between Allen Road and University. It's right across the street from where I live.
Okay. All right.
They're the Big John's. It's Big John's grandson. That's why it's called Grandpa John's.
Okay.
So it's still the old Big John's recipe and their sauce.
Pork tenderloin.
I did a tenderloin tour, and it tied. It was Kenny's West Side Pub. Boy, I'm drawing a blank on the place he tied with. He can find it on my. I feel. Oh no. Something with
how soon
boar
we
in
forget.
It. Well,
that must
I know.
Be really memorable.
I tell you, I did a lot of damage to my memory cells in the 70s.
I see.
We won't get into that.
Well, I think we know, Marty. Chinese.
I
won't go on and on, so we'll just make this the last one.
The Chinese is, and again, I'm drawing a blank on the name of it. Oh, Yanqing.
Yanqing on University.
Yeah, and I think it's the oldest.
It's been around a long time.
It really has. I remember going there in the 80s.
I love that little bar.
I do too.
You walk in there and it's like...
And they're really friendly in there. I've done a couple blogs from there.
Okay. Well, if people want more, obviously go to Meanwhile Back in Peoria.
Yeah, there's 6 years worth of information there.
Yeah, if you want to spend 5 minutes or so with it, you can. So tell us now, what about the people of Peoria?
Well, that's how this whole thing started.
And you better give us a date, because somebody was going to say, what are you talking about?
People of Peoria, actually, the first issue, I think, came out in 1990.
Okay.
It was 90 to 93. I had the idea in 1989, and everyone that knew me said, "What are you, crazy? You've never written." I mean, I didn't go to college.
Well, city mags, I mean, not just in Peoria, but everywhere, have come and gone. I mean, not just now, because print's, sort of an endangered species, but magazines glossy magazines that represented this area or any area have always had like a quick start, and then they kind of fall off because it's tough to do that.
There is the Peoria magazines are the ones that have held on, because when I did People of Peoria, and I'll take one out of here, the magic bag.
Oh, we've been waiting to see these.
Yeah, and I also have brought you guys some of these too. You can.
Oh, more paraphernalia.
More stuff to plug the show with.
Went wild. Marty Monologues. Okay.
Wild with printing. Speaking of print, this is the old People of Peoria. You remember this issue?
I do. Well, I don't necessarily remember that issue.
We'll test your memory cells.
Oh boy!
Make me look like an idiot here, because you're in this one.
Oh, I am.
I think this is when I first met you, and this is back in January, February of 1991.
Okay.
We had our hot chick fold out in here, which actually was.
There it
chicken.
is. Yes.
Jeff Putnam did the photography there. If Jeff, you're watching, great work. And if I can find it real quickly here, I should have earmarked it. Now I won't be able to find it.
Your brother did some of the art.
Yeah, my brother Jim Swami.
Swami, who we all remember.
Oh, here he is. Implanted Peorian, Steve Tarter. Look at you.
Oh, my goodness. Look at that. That's when I was working at the bus company, folks. and previous life.
Tarter on ethanol. Yeah. I came up with that headline.
You were amazing even then. Look at how that fit, just perfect.
No, and it's funny, and I remember coming up with that and thinking, oh, I was kind of proud of that.
Well, that was, and in case some people are wondering what the heck I'm doing with ethanol, the bus company at that time had an ethanol bus, and it was like a first in the nation, and Peoria was getting attention, so we did that. But yeah, John Stokowski.
John.
John's gone now, but he was a great guy over there, and of course people may know him from being in this town for many years.
Oh, sure.
But yeah, this is a great. Well, it's wonderful to look back on those kind of things because, you know, I don't think it'll ever change, whether it's online, in a magazine, a newspaper, whatever format it goes. People love reading about people in the area.
Oh, sure.
Either they didn't know or they did know.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, it's about time you did a story on so-and-so. Right. Or I had no idea that he or she had done this stuff.
And I think they just like looking at pictures of people, which is why I try to feature on my blog. Like you say, I go up to strangers. It's something I really developed back when I started blogging in 2010. I can't believe it's been 8 years. I did a blog, which you remember. You were on that too because we came back. Dwayne Bartels is with us. We went to Khaki Jack's. Oh, I went to 365 bars in 365 days. Yep. And I came home, me, you, my cousin Jeff, and Dwayne Bartels all had lunch. I forget which bar that was on the tour, but
Khaki Jack's.
I learned while doing that because when I started doing that, almost everything I've ever done, I've always heard the words, "Oh, you're crazy." I mean, what do you want to do that for? And, and that kind of propels me then to want to do it. It's like, all right, you know what? I'll show you. And
well, you said you like that fear factor.
Yeah, the fear and the scare of doing something new. It's just. When you fail, it feels bad, but you can learn from it. But if you succeed with it, it feels really, really good.
Have you considered like walking on ledges and high buildings?
No, I don't like heights. I'm scared of heights.
I was just giving you something to be scared of because that would certainly scare me.
But doing the bar blog is what taught me, like, because I was in New York where you approach a stranger, you run the risk of somebody just like socking you in the mouth.
Or looking at you in a gassed manner.
I kind of learned how to like look at a crowd and figure out who would be friendly to like having their photo taken. And I always ask. I just don't plop a camera in someone's face. I always ask because once in a while you will get somebody saying, "No, I don't want to be online," and it's like fine. You know, that's why I ask.
You saw that. This is obvious for anyone who's been to the big city, whether it's Chicago, New York, or whatever. But there is a difference walking down the street in say a big city versus, and I don't know how to classify Peoria because it's mid-sized.
Yeah,
you can go to teeny towns that have 800 residents. Yeah. And that's different because then you make eye contact. You might say hi. You might automatically wave. You don't do that in a big city.
You don't look at people that much.
You're moving down the road.
You're walking fast. In New York, well, in people are actually out walking.
Yeah.
I mean, you don't see that a lot in Peoria.
No.
In New York, I used to call it the slow walkers. You get behind a group of people fanned. I mean, the rule there is you go like two at a time because everybody's walking there. And if you're going that way, you two on the right side coming that way, you're on the left side. And I always called them slow walkers. I mean, usually it was tourists maybe that had never been to New York, but they would be fanned.
They're looking up. They're looking
and going slow. And you'd say like 5 times, excuse me, and nobody would get out of here. And then I would always just kind of push my way through and, typical New Yorker. And I felt like saying,
rude.
No, I'm some hick from Peoria. I just want to get to where I'm going.
Isn't it? It's funny when you were talking. It's amazing what people are. They automatically adopt rules because, I mean, that's how we get along.
Yeah.
I mean, and if you live in a city with millions of people, you've got to do some accommodating.
Yeah.
Or you're in trouble.
Yeah, it's chaos.
You know? Yeah, chaos. So that's words to live by for me. Will this be in any of those stories? These wisdom
stories. The 3 stories are going to be the first one. I can't say the name of because it does go a little over the line. There's a curse word in there.
Oh my goodness!
But this is the first story. Is 2 stories about me. I guess you could call me being a jerk at work, and they both deal with death.
Oh,
it's dark humor, but I think that's kind of a funny one.
You think the audience is ready for it?
We'll find out.
Okay. Yeah. Those sandwiches may come flying back at you.
That's why I'm not going to put any tomatoes or anything on them.
Why tempt fate?
Yeah. That's going to be the first one. The second one, I kind of wanted to do kind of a variety. I didn't want them all to be kind of funny The first one's kind of funny in a real dark kind of way. The first story always gets the reaction of with people laughing, saying, "That's not funny." And I'm like, "Well, you're laughing at it."
Yeah.
So that gets what I like to call a guilty laugh, which I hope I get that night. We'll see. The second deals with one thing I want to mention in doing the stories is that stories are something we all have in common. Everyone's got their own little backlog, and they all also are things that are going to live on long after we're all gone. That you go to a reunion. Oh, remember so and so and what he did. And there's certain dates in time, like those of us old timers.
Don't bang on the desk because that only affects your podcast.
Oh, does it?
Yeah. Matt will have a fit.
Sorry, Matt.
We got to keep this guy in line. Save those histrionics for your show.
There you go. There's certain dates in time that all of us like have a story attached to. Like for us older people, it's like when JFK was shot. Although I don't really with that one. I was only 5. For me, one big one is when the Beatles were on Ed Sullivan.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I remember that date.
Yep.
The newer one, I think, for old people like us and younger people that will be in there. There's a variety of people going to be there that night. It's September 11th.
Oh, yeah.
Everybody's got their own story.
Right. And it's getting into a historical context.
I can't believe that it's been 17 years.
Oh, yeah.
I was in New York, so I've got a...
You've got a good perspective on that.
Well, and I really have, I feel, a good story of that day that kind of... It does go a range of emotions. It did for me that day because I walked down there and...
Have you considered at your show a laugh track? A tape.
No. If it doesn't happen, it doesn't happen.
I think you could maneuver it on stage. Like, this is where you laugh, folks. Say, okay.
That might be kind of funny to do at a future one, have something like that. But actually, in the September 11th, there are a few funny moments in that, but that's more of a serious, somber one of being in New York.
Making light of 9/11. even Marty Wombacher doesn't need to do that.
Well, there actually is a point in the show, not in that story, where I actually do. So you come and see that.
All right.
And then the third story, I always ask him, maybe you'll know, you're into music and stuff. See if either you or Matt behind the cameras there. Do you know who David Johansen is?
Yeah.
Okay, you do. Do you? Most people don't, and I'm going to bring a list.
This has been right because you brought him up before when we were talking.
Okay, so I've told you this.
You've told me this.
You've heard them all.
Yeah, well, I've heard some.
I actually got to meet him. A friend of mine in New York was a friend of his wife. They're divorced now.
And why don't you mention their band? The band
the band he was the lead singer for were the New York Dolls, which were the first like glam punk band. And I mean, I listened to them in high school. I remember me and my brother Jim, because they were really, for the time, they were wearing makeup and stuff before anybody, Alice Cooper, anybody. So they influenced. Their records didn't really sell a lot, and that's what the story's kind of about. But they influenced so many people, from Kiss to Alice Cooper to the punk rock, the Sex Pistols. The Ramones were started because Johnny Ramone said, Tommy Ramone, the drummer, always wanted to start a band with Johnny Ramone. And Johnny Ramone was like, I only know 3 chords. We can't have a band. And he said he went to Mercer Arts, where the New York Dolls used to play all the time in Manhattan. He said, I went and saw the Dolls. He's like, these guys are playing and they're worse than I am. And that's when he decided to form the Ramones. And
they can do it, I can do it.
That was kind of the mentality of it. And the New York Dolls were a great, all you really need for rock and roll is 3 chords. And David Johansen was their front person, really good. He then went on to have a solo career. Buster Poindexter is what he's known best for, the hot.
Right.
He's also been in movies. He co-starred.
That came out when? In the 90s?
I think in the early 90s. He was on MTV. He has since said that's the bane of his existence. He hates that went really big, and me and him talked about it. Anyway, I got to meet David Johansen. A friend of mine knew his wife, Kate Simon, who was a well-known photographer. She was friends with Kate and got to be friends with David, and David wanted to meet me. And I'm not going to say why, but for her to call me and say, David wants us to go to his concert at the Bottom Line. He's put us on the guest list because he really wants to meet you. I mean, that's on the level of
Is David coming to Marty Monologues? Maybe,
you never
maybe he's
know.
Flying in.
You never know. He might be coming in for this. He's probably, I'm sure he has followed my path, my whole career, if you want to call it that. So those are the 3 stories. And then, also, we're calling this a one-man show with 4 people. because I mentioned Jonathan Wright, DJ Juan Goblin. The other two people are going to be appearing and playing a song before and after are Sarah Marie Dillard and Brandon Mooberry. They're both really talented musicians. Sarah plays all around town, sometimes with her band. It's called Sarah and the Underground, sometimes solo. Brandon's a great bass. He plays stand-up bass. So they're going to play a song at the beginning, and then they're going to play one at the end.
Have you cued them that if the story isn't working out too well, they should start playing?
They're actually going to be, I think they're going to be out in the crowd. So they're only going to be doing, John will be doing music through the show.
I'm reminded of when at the Academy Awards, when so the person goes on talking too much.
Oh,
you hear the band. The band comes up from behind. So in the middle of Marty's stories, you might hear a guitar strumming or something. But no, we make light of it. But I think you were made for this because
I hope so.
you love to do these stories. I mean, you get such an engagement out of telling stories and engaging people. I think people respond to that. So
people have told me that. So, and also it's like people in Peoria and really in New York too, where it's always like, oh, there's nothing to do. So to me, it's like, well, you know what? No one's ever done anything like this in town. So it's like, let's do something.
Well,
let's just see what happens.
You're doing your bit to bring people to downtown Peoria on a Sunday night.
Well, and what's before this? There's a chili cook-off from noon to 4.
Oh, where's that?
For the Build Peoria, Dozer Park.
Okay, so right downtown.
People can come down for the chili cook-off. I'm giving them a free plug. I hope they plug my show now.
Okay.
It's the chili cook-off. So they can go to Dozer Park. You know, don't eat too much chili if you're coming to the show.
You might get a sandwich. You might not. But I mean,
no,
that's Marty's pitch.
I'm thinking of the after effects of chili.
Oh, okay.
With the beans. So don't eat a lot of
that. Should only help your show.
We'll see. Then I have a real cause that people say, "Man, that show stunk."
Oh, I see.
So there's that. You can go there, do that from noon to 4, have a little nap, then come on over to the Marty Monologues at the
and have another nap. No, just kidding.
Boy, he's rough today. I tell you, it's like I'm with Rodney Dangerfield.
Yeah. No, we're just setting you up so you can become the sympathetic person in this.
And I also have T-shirts for you and for Matt too.
Really?
I actually brought 3.
Oh my
goodness! I thought Adam was going to be here.
Oh, this is your
the obligatory.
Meanwhile, back in Peoria T-shirt.
The obligatory MBIP
What if somebody wants one of these? Where do they get them?
These are actually the last 3, so you can't have one. Sorry, you have to call Steve Tarter.
I'll give you mine for a price.
There you go.
We're just kidding.
These were limited editions. I actually had them printed up. Terry Growie printed them up at Sipco I had an anniversary party about a year ago at Mike's Tavern, and we gave out T-shirts. So
very good. No, these are great. I like a black T-shirt.
Me too.
It looks good on you, and you know, the audience will be probably wearing those. And okay. Do you have a lot of those out? No, probably a handful, probably.
Yeah, no, I mean, there's probably, I bet, at least 30 people have them.
Okay, very good. Well, hey, man, we're going to roll this out here. Let's remind him one more time, Marty Wombacher at the Apollo Theater in downtown Peoria, right across from the courthouse. Sunday night, you'll be the only thing rolling on that block, I think. Because I think
so.
I think they're about to reopen, we've read this, the restaurant.
Richards.
Richards.
Yeah, that would be great.
It'd be a new name and a new place, but it's not open yet, I don't think. We've run something in our paper about that. But you'll be there in the Apollo at 7 o'clock on Sunday.
I picked Sunday night because I thought, well, there's not a lot of other stuff going on. The party will probably start, like I say, the show starts at 7. I'm sure it'll be over by 8:30. And then there's the after-show party at Kenny's.
At Kenny's, which is just down the street.
Oh, right.
A block away.
You could walk there.
Yeah. Well, very good. Well, Marty, good luck.
Thanks for having me on. I always appreciate it, Steve.
Well, we always enjoy having you on.
Oh, thank you.
And we'll remind people, Matt Dayhoff's been behind the controls here.
Thank you, Matt.
Gets this thing out on Facebook and everywhere else. And this is Steve Tarter. We'll see you next time. See,